What was a red flag that made you stop talking to a person immediately? Joined a new book club because I love reading and thought it'd be a great way to make some new friends. He had a lively discussion about the book, and I thought I fit right in. Until one of the members starts going off on a tangent about how climate change is a hoax, and it's all a conspiracy to control us. As someone who's pretty passionate about environmental issues, it was like a record scratch moment for me. Even tried to rope me into a debate by asking if I've ever personally seen the ice caps melting. Decided to just smile, nod, and look for another book club. Get a match on Tinder. I forget the exact conversation. I think I asked something ridiculous, and she gave an answer in kind. I followed up by saying curses, as most 80s cartoon villains do. She replied with, "Hey, be careful with what you say. I have a lot of friends who are witches." The witches part didn't bother me. The being white a sensitive thing bothered me. So I unmatched. About a month later, a mutual friend, yes, she's a witch, posted on FB that my former Tinder match had disappeared for like 3 days. Turns out she had gone on a bender about 300 miles away. I had a friend that I grew up with, played on the same teams. Our parents were friends, we were in each other's weddings that time, and said, I thought I wanted to be a cop so I could serve and protect. Really help people, Now I realize it's so I can drive really fast, carry a gun, and beat people up. He also went on a rant about how all homeless people should be rounded up and buried, thrown under the jail, and disposed of. We never spoke again after that day. My best friend for over a decade, we raised our kids together, etc. Started doing ecstasy and going to raves. I expressed how I'm not allowing that to be in my life. Been in recovery for 14 years and 7 months sober from alcohol. She insists it's not an issue, nor she won't get addicted. Every other weekend she posts snaps of her at a rave. The most dilated pupils. Your kids are still young. You chose to be a parent. Wait till they are at least 18 and don't rely on you for everything. It breaks my heart. But I had to back away. When I got my first apartment in my 20s, I invited someone I thought was a friend to come stay with me sometime. Just a vague invite suggestion because I wanted to spend more time with them outside our workspaces. They said they'd only visit if I lived near some kind of anime pop culture convention where they could table and make money. Dropped the friendship like a rock after that. It was a shame, but if you just come out and say that sort of thing to people, I'm not sure what sort of career can be possible for you. I was about 18. Got invited to dinner at his home. He was in his late 30s. I naively thought I was safe around him. Turns out I was. Sitting around after dinner, he confessed that he liked little boys. I just said, oh, I didn't have internet. I had never heard of that. I didn't know what to say. I noped out of there. This was around 1980. He sent me a plant from a florist the next day with a thank you card and his business card. Turns out he was one of the top luxury car salesmen in Los Angeles. I never saw him again. I told the guy I only had time for a coffee date because I had a study group to attend. He kept trying to extend again and eventually asked if I would go watch a movie at his place. I said no. I have to leave now. And he knocked on my car window so I'd roll it down. Then refused to let go of the top of the glass. I had to pull away slowly with him still holding on. Study group laughed their asses off when I told them why I was late. He didn't get a second date. In high school, my longtime crush finally started to reciprocate my feelings, and we got to hanging out. That's when he told me he and his buddies liked to ride their bikes and swing baseball bats as they chased terrified homeless people down. When he saw my horrified expression, he was like, we don't actually hit them, they just think we will. At worst, we'll throw brown paper bags full of dog shit at them, ha ha ha. That relationship lasted about half a day. I stopped talking to one of my best friends because he was bitching about me to a former class fellow of mine. He said something along the line of, how did I even get into a relationship? How my GF now ex deserves someone better, and how I miss him. He then proceeded to justify sending creepiest texts to my other best friend's girl. He did forgive him for that, but he shouldn't have. Mind you, he said all this to a class fellow of mine whom he barely knew. When someone tossed the N-word in a conversation we were having, I was done with them. When someone told me that a large percentage of rape accusations were lies, so none could be believed, I never spoke to them again. Ed to drink at a restaurant claiming it was a man's drink. What I was wearing wasn't to his taste. My stockings matched the color of my dress, as if his opinion actually was supposed to matter to me. I once stopped to help an old lady borrow my phone because her transportation service hadn't shown up. She called them and asked them to come. When they told her something I couldn't hear, she starts calling the receptionist a bunch of racist slurs, handed the phone back to me, and said something overly racist about the staff at the transportation service. I was initially gonna call a cab for her, but after her smiling racist rant, I decided not to. Back in the day, I played softball all over the Midwest. Major hobby. If a kick, met a guy at some small leagues, and we were friendly. Contacted each other about playing some tournaments, etc. One day he invites me back up to play with him on a team in Minneapolis for some big all-nighter tourney. He said we'd go up, smoke a couple folies on Friday, and still be wired on Monday. I'd never heard the term. It was meth. He wanted to smoke meth. She volunteered to be the DD and while driving asked for me to hand her purse. She dug out a pain patch that was cut in half and proceeded to pop it into her mouth and started chewing it like it was gum. As horrified and asked what she was doing, and she made up some excuse about back pain. Cutting it in half, chewing it for a few minutes. Had the medicine work faster than just applying it topically. I Ubered home that night. Met a guy at the gym and invited him to hang out with my friends later on that week at the bar. He seems totally normal. Later at the bar we're talking and he drops an incredibly racist joke out of nowhere. Stops the conversation dead in its tracks. And we all look at him and no one says anything or laughs. He mumbles something about us being too sensitive and didn't say much the rest of the night. Haven't talked to or seen him since. Talking badly about their exes, like airing out their dirty laundry. Type months in just trashing someone you haven't seen in years, and no one was talking about them. It just made me uncomfortable and hyper aware of anything I've done they would talk crap about later. Dated a woman who had no job and lived off of rental income from a single property. She told me she wanted to start a new business, had no savings and didn't want to work. This was immediately after she told me she pissed away a $400K inheritance in a few years by traveling. I laughed and told her that was what jobs were for. I'm pretty slow most of the time, but I'm pretty sure she wanted me to be the solution to that problem. Went on a couple of dates with a girl, and when we were planning the next one we couldn't agree on what activity to do on the date. She then looked at me and in complete seriousness said, "You should want to do whatever I want to do because that will make me happy and you should want that over your own happiness." Suffice to say the date didn't happen, but she threw a massive tantrum and fed a lot of BS to our mutual friends. This has happened with more than one. Made plans to hang out or for them to come over too. I've learned a lot of people are trash at communication, so I follow up an hour in advance to make sure things are still going smooth. Couldn't get a hold of them. They never show and never tell me they won't make it. Insta-banned from my life. Also never followed up with me later to say why they ghosted. Old buddy of mine. Who was that guy in our friends group from work? Kept texting me random nonsense back when you paid per text. Our last conversation went like this. Him, what's up? Me, I am at school. What do you need? Him, nothing, just bored. Me, okay. Well, I get charged 25 cents for each text, so I kind of want to save them for something important. Him, oh yeah, me too, lol. I never texted him back after that. Guy did not reach out to me for days. And then when I texted him, he goes, "I don't understand, why did you text me today and not yesterday?" Honestly, I had no good answers for this one. Or inviting a guy for a summer evening 6 p.m. walk, and he says he is already laying in bed, mind you we were off the next day. and he won't get up to go for a walk. Then saying that I did not give him a chance to literally everyone. The year I graduated college, my best friend also graduated, that he got a coding job immediately, and I had to take a delivery driver job. While first time hanging out, he says, it's nice that I get the benefit of free health insurance, but at least you get free sandwiches. This was after he wanted to start making fun of my grandmother for some reason. Such a heel turn for someone who got $50,000. They told me they were interested in occult stuff. Didn't mind it at first, but then found out later it correlated to the fact that they were trying to coerce me into having sex with them in belief of soul ties. They were painfully jealous of me. They deeply believed they would wake up with my personality and appearance after taking advantage of me because they had a raging inferiority complex. I worked with a woman at a part-time job in a satellite office, and at first I really liked her. She was friendly and funny. One day she started talking about the Boston bombing and several school shootings being hoaxes. Her diatribe lasted the rest of the shift and got increasingly nuts. The next time I was at the main office, I let them know that I would not be working with her again. My coworker told me he knew his wife was having a seizure at work. Drove to her job, retail grocery, asked where she was. They told him she hadn't shown up, so he knew she was in her car. He decided to shop around a little bit before finding her. By the time he got out to her car, someone else had called an ambulance and was helping her. I haven't been able to look at him the same.